Okay, so I have a document open. I'm about to open one, and I don't want you right now to worry about the preset details, the size, or any of that right now. So I'm just going to create. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you where the basic shapes are, how to select them using the selection tool, which is always going to be black. The shapes, basic shapes, is where the rectangle is, or rectangle tool. And if I hold this menu down, you can see a variety of different shapes. Now, all I want you to do is learn where these shapes are and how to basically create them on a page or artboard page and fill color in them. So very, very basic, and there's a reason for that. We will discuss more in class how important basic shapes are in order to even create illustrations. So that is the reason why we're looking at these basic shapes and how to do that right now. So as you can see, we have the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to click on that, make sure you're on that. You can also see that some of these, not all of them, have letters. So on your keyboard, if you press M, for example, it will automatically go to the rectangle tool. If you press L, it will go to the ellipse tool, which is a circle. And also, if I want to go to this tool here, which is the selection tool we'll be using as well, that is actually V. So if I go here and I press V, it will automatically be grayed out in a darker gray. That's how you know you're selected in it. And that's how you get to the selection tool. So let me get started on that. So all I want you to do is click on the first rectangle. And on the page, just click and drag. You can see pink lines. They're called smart guides. Right now, I'm just going to draw a rectangle freehand. And as you can see, here's my rectangle. Now, what do I do? So I want you to notice what's happening here. You're seeing a bounding box, which has different corners here, boxes, where you can actually extend and make your rectangle larger, thinner, whatever you want to do freehand. Or I can hold down the Shift key and bring this much larger. Okay. Also, if I want to deselect, if I want to actually see my rectangle without the bounding box, what I would need to do is go back to the selection tool. So right now, as you can see, I'm selected on the rectangle. If I want to go back to the selection tool, I can either click on it or press the letter V. So if I click on it and then deselect, press on the actual artboard anywhere, you can see now I have that rectangle. It's white with a outline or stroke. It's called a stroke in Illustrator in black. You can also see that in the toolbar at the bottom here. It's filled with white and the stroke is filled with black. You can always change this, right? So let me just show you how to add color to this if I wanted to do that. First, in your properties panel, which is on your right side, you're going to go to the swatches. And as you can see, there are a number of generic swatches, but also you have, if you go to the very top color, you have this entire spectrum where you can click on anywhere and you can fill this with color. Now, if I actually click on this now, it's not going to work. And there's a reason for that. So if I click, I can see that down here, it picked up the color, but inside here, it didn't. And the reason for that is because I wasn't actually selected on the object. So I need to be selected. So if I click on the object itself, you can see the blue bounding box. Then I can select any of these colors, as you can see, anywhere on the spectrum and add color. Or again, so we have the color or the swatches down here. Okay, I can click on any of these as well. Okay. So that's the first rectangle. Now, if I wanted to do a square, in order to actually draw a square, I have to hold down my Shift key. So if I click Shift and draw, as you can see, it keeps it in proportion. If I don't hold down the Shift, it's going to freehand the object, and I don't want that. I want an actual square this time. So hold down Shift when you're clicking and dragging it out. Then I can go back into my fill and choose a different color, right? So now I want to move this somewhere else. If I want to move these objects, I have to go back into the selection tool. So that's what the selection tool does. You can grab the objects, you can move them, click, drag, I can overlap them, whatever you want to do. Click any of these. So make sure you're selected on the object. Now, if I want to select multiple objects at the same time and move these both at the same time, I have to click on one, hold down the Shift key, click on the second one. Once I have that, I can click and drag both. So that's how to do multiple objects. Another thing I want to show you is when I zoom in here, the stroke. So it's showing me in both places down here at the bottom of the toolbar, the blue and the black stroke. I also have another area here in the properties panel called appearance, which gives me my stroke, which is black. It also tells me how big the stroke is, which is 1 point. So it's up to you whether you want a stroke or not. So I'm going to actually remove the stroke just to show you how to do it if I don't want a stroke. If I click in here, right in this area, it basically shows me the swatches panel again. But what I need to do to remove it is the very first swatch that has a diagonal red line is none. So if I click on that, as you can see, it had removed it for me, right? So that's how you remove the stroke. I can also do that. If I click on this object, I go back in here, remove the stroke. There we go. Now I'm just going to continue back into the rectangle menu. We have the ellipse. So the same way, the ellipse is drawn either freehand, right? So you can do ovals and things like that. So I'm going to click and I'm going to change the color. Click anywhere in here, change the color. If I want to do a circle, I'm going to move this here. I have to do the same thing the way I created the square. So if I go back, click on that, click and drag, but hold down the Shift key. That is the way to get the circle, the perfect circle. Then I would click back into my fill area and choose a different color, okay? So basically all I want you to do is create these shapes here and add fill colors, so fill color, and remove the strokes. Also use the selection tool. Select these, move these around, and even select them at the same time. So I can hold down my Shift key, select all of these, and move it around, or click and drag over and move it around. Okay, that's how you would control that. Finally, we're not going to work on the star just yet. It is a star, but I do want to show you something else with the star. The polygon, I'm going to finish up with that. And here I can actually choose the color before I draw it. So I'm going to click on this one. And then I'm going to click, and as you can see, it rotates depending on how I move my mouse, right? If I hold my Shift key, it will not rotate. So it actually has control over it. And that's it. If I go back to the selection, then I can move this wherever I want on the page.